Drew, this week we're checking out Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. This is actually the next game in a two-game series with Lonely Mountains Downhill. We played actually a couple of years ago, the downhill mountain biking style game that we really enjoyed. This one is the next one kind of in the series here, and we're hitting the snowy peaks and we're on skis. And this one actually, Drew, is really bringing back a lot of the feels from the original game. Again, this is a unique art style. The environments are very nice looking. The music and the audio in these games tend to be very enjoyable. It has a cozy feel, but also a very competitive feel. So it was nice to kind of jump back into this one and kind of get my feet wet again, because it took a little bit getting into this, Drew. But right off the hop, man, if I'm going to give this one a score out of 10, I'm actually going to give this one an 8. I had a ton of fun playing this. What about you, man?
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I'm hovering between the 8 to 8.5. I think I'm gonna go with an 8. Like it is, dude, it is challenging, which is part of the charm and the controls of the game, right? The controls are really kind of what sets this game apart from others. It is a challenge to get down the hill. I like that it's not so simple, and you're just, if you played Steep back in the day, right, and you kind of just coast down the hill, dude, there's no coasting. It is like, get down there as fast as you can, find the quickest path, and don't hit anything. That's not gonna happen, right? Like, it's just not gonna happen. I always running into something, or I'm jumping off a cliff here and going off a cliff there, and then you grind out, you gear up, and you're changing out your outfits and stuff like that. It's so charming. I think it's really kind of what it does. It hooks me with that part, right? And just, okay, one more run. I love that feeling of, I mean, I could have done that one better. Let me see if I can beat that time, right? Maybe don't crash this many times to beat that level. It is a ton of fun. I literally laughed out loud at some of the stuff that was just chaos trying to get down the hill. And like, oh man, I had that. How did I miss that? All right, see if I can aim it differently. And then the tracks stay behind too, so you can see the path that you already took and went, don't go that way. Let's go this way. And then all of a sudden, as you go down the hill though, what you didn't see the first time is sometimes you'll see another path, like, oh man, what if I went that way instead? So then you try that out, right? And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you shaved off a couple seconds. That makes a huge difference. Just watch out for the tree trunk, and then the other branch that's in the way, or a boulder, right? There's just so much chaos when it comes to it. And on top of that, dude, the multiplayer, I had the most fun playing the multiplayer. I really had a blast. There's one I didn't finish. It was so brutal. I didn't finish at all. And then they just kicked me out of the lobby because I took so long. I was like, oh, come on.
I'm trying here. I'm trying.
There. So I wrap up, right? And the next thing I know, I'm like in second place the next race. Like, oh, you get to watch these morons try to get down the hill and fumble like I did. Dude, it was just... You know what? You got a couple minutes. You sit there, you chill out, you try and get down the hill, you have a couple laughs, and then you bounce out, you play something else, and then you come back. Or you could be here for hours on end. It's kind of one of those things. It's up to you. How much time do you have? How much time you want to spend in here? And for me, it was just been that personality charm and hook that has. The control scheme is just so satisfying when you nail it. Sometimes I just spun in a circle. I'm like, man, now I'm going backwards. What did I just do to myself? Screwed myself, right? But that's what happens, dude. I think the game is a blast. It's a ton of fun for sure.
Yeah, again, you mentioned the multiplayer, which is new for this version of the game. The first game didn't have multiplayer. You were playing it completely solo. It had some online leaderboards, I believe, so you were able to kind of take your times and compare them to other people, but you were never on the hill with them at the same time. So it's nice to have this new multiplayer in because, like you said, it's fairly chaotic in multiplayer, where this game does kind of border on the line, like I said, kind of a cozy game to a degree. Like, you can sit back, relax. There's no huge commitment here. If you want to play it for 10 minutes, you can. If you want to play it for 3 hours, go for it. Because there's plenty to do in here. There's plenty of grinding. Like you said, you can upgrade your gears. There's new hills to unlock, then new difficulties to unlock. And then you ride those same hills, look for those extra paths because you don't see them the first couple times because you're too busy trying to figure out the controls, Drew. And that, like you said, the mechanics of the game are fairly simple to understand, but hard to master, especially if you haven't quite figured out which type of control you want. They give you an option at the beginning, slight little tutorial to control yourself, and the game will kind of suggest which control scheme you should use. And the first one they gave me was camera relative, which I found to be fairly good, except for making certain turns where I had to turn back into the mountain for whatever reason. I found myself having a lot of difficulty, so I actually switched it to just straight left and right control, and I had a lot more success that way. And that's just me, so it's nice to see that you know, people can play it in a couple different ways, and it'll work for you. You'll find something that works. So again, it's just one of those things, kind of understanding how to control yourself going down the hill, because every mountain looks a little different, every path is a little different, so you're running into terrain and contours that you may not have run into yet, so you need to understand how to navigate them. So you may be putting on the brakes the first couple times to, you know, wiggle your way through something and then go down the hill. And then eventually, once you start unlocking things in this game and you're playing for longer and longer, you start flying down these hills. Because I remember playing Lonely Mountains downhill. It was the same thing. It took a bit to get into, but once you do, it really unlocks and you have a ton of fun. So the fact that you can actually jump into this one with your friends, have a blast, but also sit back on the couch and just play free play and go down the mountain if you want by yourself, or just do time trials on your own. I like the fact that you get that versatility here.